You remember the first time you got scared and liked it? Harry Mason is vacationing in Appalachia when he awakens inside of his Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's totaled. He had driven off-road to avoid a pedestrian, running through a fence and into a small residential area. He quickly realizes his young daughter Cheryl, only 7, is missing from the car. This is the beginning of the nightmare, as Harry wanders around the foggy mountain town, avoiding demons and solving the mystery of what the fuck is going on here. Silent Hill set the standard for creepiness in video games. The developers took full advantage of the PlayStation's graphical limitations to make what I'd argue is the best looking game in an ugly generation. The wobbly textures and dithering add to the feeling of discomfort, while the low draw distance hide behind a fog, keeping you from ever really knowing what's around the corner. It's no shock that right now, in the early 2020s, there's a growing trend of indie horror games inspired by Silent Hill's graphics. Team Silent figured out how to make a game look scary in 1999, and in my opinion, no one's done it better since. Even the sequels sacrifice terror for fidelity. Gameplay-wise, this is a true survival horror, in that it's an adventure game with dungeons and puzzles. The town acts as an overworld, linking important optional locations. It's pretty linear, and there's not much more than some ammo or health drinks to pull you off the beaten path, but it's really impressive how open the space is for a PS1 game. Most dated part of this game are the tank controls. They're really not that bad once you get used to bumping into everything, but if you didn't grow up with them, it'll probably infuriate you. The game uses predominantly 3D assets rather than the pre-rendered backgrounds that were trendy at the time. This gives the camera freedom to see these chilling environments from all angles. Sometimes it can be difficult to tell what's interactable or not, but usually the game is good about signaling to the player that something is out of place. Combat isn't emphasized too much. There's a decent variety in melee weapons, but unless you've got a really itchy trigger finger, I don't think resources are limited enough to warrant using them very much. You'll find plenty of handgun ammo lying around. The low draw distance and narrow hallways gives you a lot of blind spots, so you need to rely on your radio reacting to the evil energy or whatever to let you know when enemies are near. This is pretty cool for the aesthetic, but towards the end it's basically always going off, and it can be maybe a little annoying. I don't know, I never turn it. You can turn the radio off, but I don't. There isn't that much variety in the enemies, but they're all cool. The streets are mostly filled with demonic wildlife. They're not very smart, so as long as you keep moving, they probably won't catch you. Inside the more confined buildings, the enemies are a little more tactical, with one member of a group trying to grab you while the rest all slash at you with knives. The only things I don't like are these invisible dudes that just scream. The bosses are all pretty cool, but I don't think they're very challenging, and none of them last very long. The puzzles for the most part are pretty easy to figure out and satisfying to solve. However, there are a couple that you probably will want to look up, as this game can be cryptic as hell. The story is maybe more cryptic than the puzzles, and difficult to spoil because of that. Silent Hill is populated by a powerful cult, bent on summoning Satan or something like that, I don't know. Your interpretation of why and how this plays out can change depending on what content you missed, or which of the several endings you get. This kind of story can turn off people who want more typical narratives, but like the gameplay, the lack of clarity does a lot of work in keeping things frightening. I really enjoy all the characters, as campy as they are. Harry is proactive, focusing on finding his daughter, while also second-guessing his mental health at times. He only completely trusts his perspective once he finds other characters that share it. These characters include a police officer, investigating a confusingly tied-in drug trafficking plot that doesn't matter, a doctor who seems to be involved in the drug trafficking plot that doesn't matter, and a terrified nurse who keeps begging for an escort mission. And Harry wants nothing to do with that. There's this lady, who seems to be the only one who knows what the fuck is going on, but makes absolutely no goddamn sense.
You will need to use it.
Use what?
The flowers.
Who you help keep survive through the story dictates which ending you get, and it is very, very easy to miss out on the good plus ending. Thankfully, this game is delightfully short, even by 1999 standards. A first playthrough will probably be under 8 hours, even blind. There's several endings and items exclusive to second playthroughs, which is good because you're gonna want to play the fuck out of this thing to justify its price right now. Overall, Silent Hill is a beautiful, frighteningly fun experience that's still holding the bar for a horrifying atmosphere. It's easy for players new to survival horror to overlook it in lieu of its more legendary sequel, but don't. Silent Hill is an amazing game. I give it the Dagger of Melchior.
Subscribe for more.